Thank you, Carrie, for sharing more about the Pro Bono Transformation Project. We're very excited about what's to come. And now we welcome our keynote speaker, the wonderful Martha Barnett. Martha is a former president of the American Bar Association and chair of its House of Delegates. Barnett was elected president of the ABA in 2000, only the third woman to head the ABA in its history. Locally, Martha is the chair of the board of the Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare. She is a graduate of Tulane University and the University of Florida Levin College of Law. Martha, now retired as a partner in the law firm of Holland & Knight, was the first female attorney hired by the firm, where she has practiced law for 40 years. Martha served alongside First Lady Hillary Clinton on the inaugural ABA Commission on Women in the Profession. Considered a groundbreaker for her work championing minorities, Martha was a member of the legal team that negotiated a legislative settlement for survivors of the 1923 Rosewood Massacre. In 2004, Florida Trend named Martha one of the most influential Floridians. In 2006, she was named the National Law Journal as one of the 100 most influential lawyers in America. Thank you, Martha, for being with us today.
Leslie, thank you for that warm introduction. I am Martha Barnett, and I am pleased to be part of the Law Day 2020 celebration. Even though the global pandemic requires social distancing, thanks to the leadership of Legal Services of North Florida, the Legal Aid Foundation of Tallahassee, and the FSU College of Law, we can still come together. Virtual may become the new norm, but this effort was extraordinary. For more than 60 years, May 1st has been the day set aside on our national calendar to celebrate the rule of law and the role of lawyers in protecting the freedoms that we, the people, share in our constitutional democracy. Law Day is traditionally built around a theme. Despite the unimaginable impact the coronavirus is having on all aspects of our daily lives, this year's theme is not, "Where has all the toilet paper gone?" More appropriately, it is your vote, your voice, our democracy. Under this bold banner, and in awe of the suffragists, we celebrate the 100th anniversary of the adoption of the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution, the constitutional guarantee that the most basic right of citizenship, the right to vote, shall not be denied or abridged on account of sex. Each year, we celebrate the lawyers and law students who provide pro bono legal services to those in our community who need it, often desperately. In doing so, they become the voice of the underrepresented and give meaning to the constitutional promise of equal access to justice. Thank you, thank you. As I began to think about my remarks, I realized how little I knew about the suffragists, or about their decades of life and death struggles, or about Elizabeth Cady Stanton, or Susan B. Anthony, or really about any of the women, and yes, the men, whose commitment to equality paved the path to the future that I inherited. I learned that Florida did not ratify the 19th Amendment until May 13, 1969. I remember my grandmother, Zaru, who came of age in the 1920s, often talking about the importance of voting. "You must register to vote," she told me, "and never miss an election." She died long before I thought to ask her why it was so important, but I did register. I always vote. She was right, and I am not alone. Today, women are more likely to vote than men. The suffragist movement continues to be inspiring and worthy of a centennial celebration, not because women were given the right to vote, but because women demanded that right and were successful. There is much more to do. The right to vote did not give women equal rights. For constitutional equality, we need the Equal Rights Amendment. Their legacy is also a reminder that protecting the right to vote requires ongoing vigilance. Voter purges, strict ID cards, reduced early voting sites, closing polls, delays, and ever more creative voter suppression techniques are proliferating. The dispute in Florida, stemming from the 2018 adoption of a constitutional amendment relating to the voting rights of some felons, is a classic current example. Approved by about 65% of the voters, Amendment 4, as it has become known, automatically restores the voting rights of an estimated 1.4 million Floridians, mostly African Americans of limited means, who have completed the terms of their sentences. In the next legislative session, a law was passed to implement the terms of the amendment. The bill, controversial from the start, required that citizens with felony records pay all court costs and fines before they could regain their right to vote. The bill's sponsors justified it as a clarification, while it was decried by others as an unconstitutional poll tax. The dispute has worked its way through the state and federal courts, with the most recent ruling from the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals holding that Florida's law violates the Equal Protection Clause of the U.S. Constitution. Further appeals are possible, and it is not certain if there will be a final resolution before the 2020 presidential elections. Wisconsin is another current example of election disruption. It will be some time before anyone forgets the pictures of the long lines of voters wearing face masks as they waited hours to cast their ballots in person because the state's political leadership would not extend absentee voting. It is often the lawyers who come forward in situations like this. We celebrate each of you on Law Day, those who have volunteered throughout the year, as well as those who have stepped up in special ways since COVID-19 became a part of our vocabulary. Your commitment to equal justice has never been more important than in these uncertain times, when the health and well-being of our fellow citizens are so uncertain. You have done so much and done it so effectively. Some have advocated for court rules to help people stay housed and not become homeless. Some have helped with the increased demand for advance directives. Others, perhaps for the first time, have contacted legal services or the Legal Aid Foundation and asked, "How can I help?" Still others have agreed to provide advice through the helpline. We know the needs will continue to increase as workers are denied unemployment help or even access to the application process, or when victims of domestic violence need help, but they cannot reach out because their abuser is now always there, or when a small business owner is denied a loan or other assistance that would help them stay afloat. We know that many of you are impacted as well, but that you will continue to give back, using your legal skills and the other unique gifts each of you have. We are living through an historic moment. This is a time of unprecedented challenges, even to the very stability of our democracy. Everyone has been impacted. Nothing will ever be the same. Some things will be better. We have choices, and historically, we have chosen the greater good. The lasting symbol of 2020 will not be a roll of toilet paper. Rather, it will be the hand-sewn face mask made with whatever materials were on hand. When it became clear that there was a critical shortage of personal protective equipment, women from all over the country spontaneously started making masks, sharing with friends and family, and providing them to healthcare workers and first responders. They tell the story of volunteers who unselfishly give what they can for the greater good. Those masks reflect the soul of America. They are a visible symbol of we the people and a fitting reminder of the enduring legacy of the successes of the suffragists 100 years ago in 1920. Congratulations to all of you and my appreciation for the work you have done